It's Sunday, so it's okay. I just got up.
Yeah, you can see by the look of my hair, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, Saturday Sundays are. I generally don't get up early. I have become a little more lazy right now. Sometimes I work pretty late, so yeah, it gives the flexibility. But thank you for joining Pitch Investors Live, and I think I'm super excited to talk to you. You're from Cleveland, Ohio, right?
Correct.
So I used to live in Ohio,
Where
uh,
at?
Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
So I lived there for around 3.5, 4 years of my life. So pretty interesting. I saw your previous video from. That's the place I got to know that you used to live in Cleveland, Ohio, and you're
Okay.
still
So
living.
with Jason Stone,
Yes.
ironically, he was from Cleveland himself.
Yeah, that's what I heard, that's what I saw, and that's what he was saying. That so it's pretty interesting. I don't know um, how many
We're
people.
actually we're actually working on finishing up, bringing Jason on as one of our advisors.
That's great. That's great. So yeah, I mean, let's start the conversation, and I think I'm very excited. I'll just give you a little bit of a background of who am I, and also talk a little bit about what we are doing in the Pitch Investors Life. So my background is typical engineering, worked in the data, HP, Hewlett Packard, IBM, worked for Goldman Sachs, Federal Reserve Bank, venture capital. I'm currently a general partner at a tokenized VC fund. It's called SportVest. We mostly invest in the Series A and sports, as it lies in the intersection of media, entertainment, finance, and various other things. So we will be investing in many areas which touches sports, healthcare, health, wellness, but also other things. So yeah, welcome to Pitch Investors Live. And I sit on multiple companies' board, and one of the company that I sit on board as an advisor is Pitch Investors Live. So it's my double pleasure to welcome you in this platform. And I think you have seen many of the Pitch Investors Live videos. We have some great investors like Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. And also, you had a chance to talk to Jason Stone. So it's pretty exciting. And I think today, through this amazing platform of Pitch Investors Live, you can download and you can pitch. I think it gives a great opportunity for entrepreneurs. One of the things before we start, I want to ask you, and this is my first pitch. I want to ask you that what you like about Pitch Investors Live, or what make you interested to be in this platform.
Sure. First, before I get into that, let me thank you for having them get in touch with me to listen to my pitch today. Um, More importantly, moving back to your question, I ran into Pitch Investment Live through one of my advisors on our project, Kyle Asman from BX3.
Okay.
He had told me about it back in April. I started going to blockchain conferences just to kind of get the idea of what they were about, try to run into investors, things of that nature. And I ran into the booth for the Pitch Investors Live group at several of them. So that's how I got interested. Obviously, starting a company from nothing, you need people to invest in the company. So when there's an avenue where I can sit here in my morning clothes on a Sunday and have the ability to pitch someone like yourself, that's a no-brainer for a guy like myself. I've had the opportunity. I appreciate you giving me a little bit about your background, but I've done my diligence and dug all over. I read that Medium article by Pitch Investors Live. I really was intrigued by your, particularly the smart contracts conversation you had with Amy Wan. So, it's just, I read a lot of things in there that really, really lit up. My CFO for the company, Chris, was over this morning prior to this pitch. We were just working on a few things. We do have a Start Engine campaign. I don't know if you're familiar with Start Engine, that we're preparing to launch, because we're just in a situation now where to get to the next level, we need capital. And that's why I'm here. I'm willing to talk to anyone that I feel can help the project. And I've seen, like you said, Kevin Harrington's on here. I've seen him out in Miami with the pitch investment team. And it's just, I feel there's a benefit for any entrepreneur, you know, watching all of these other videos. I've seen Jason Stone actually did a deal last week with the guy. So, I mean, the ability to get the investment and like I said, just find other avenues to bring the project to life. You know, for instance, like I said, we're working on closing a deal with Jason Stone, which will probably get wrapped up here this week, just to come on and help us with some areas of things that he can expertise and help us move, you know, like the social media campaign and stuff like that, where he's done a lot of good things.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about you, because you know this, as you said, that this platform gives an opportunity that anybody can pitch from anywhere in the world. We have heard stories like people pitching while they're driving. People are pitching from any part, and they're able to access some of the big investors like Kevin Harrington or any VCs like me. I think I just love that fact, and I want people, especially entrepreneurs, to value their time and resources, especially at this early phase of their life, because it's very important. Time, money are very important, and you can value that. And you know, this Pitch Investors Live gives you that option. So I really like that. So I think let's start our pitch. Can you tell me just like a 1 minute pitch about your company and what you guys are doing?
Right. So Everyone Makes Progress has set out to create an app. Inside the app, we're going to do several things in the health and wellness world. We want to draw a line between shutting down, you know, the strenuous process of commitments and yearly subscriptions for people to be able to go and work out. You know, in the United States, 1 out of 13 people hold a gym membership right now. I think that's low. I've had people tell me they thought that was high. But when you see like the UK has 1 out of 7, you see we're kind of off. So when I get out there and I ask those 12 people that don't have a membership why they don't have one, the biggest thing they tell us are 3 answers, right? 1, they don't want to go. 2, they can't afford the membership. And 3, they just fear commitments. So if we can cross 2 of those paths by giving people the ability to go and pay as they go, that I think will help people become more fit. You know, through gamification in our loyalty program, we're going to reward people to get fit. I think that will help. And that's our long-term goal, is to create a platform that is decentralized and allows people to get into an environment where they're rewarded for their hard work and efforts. I mean, the other side of it is it's hard to be motivated every day to work out by yourself. You know, if you can jump into an app and you can find a personal trainer, or, you know, part of our social network, you know, you can talk to other people in your neighborhood that are willing to work out with you, or you can sign up to classes and things like that. It's just going to help people find these things. You know, I've actually been a personal trainer before. I've teached kids Taekwondo. You know, and when doing these things, it's really hard to find new customers. You know, you're spending your time working your day job, most of these people, because, you know, the personal training thing is hard to get paid in the beginning. You know, and then how do you find customers to actually build that business? They end up going to these gyms, and then the gym makes all the money. So giving personal trainers the ability to find users and allow them to jumpstart their business is another benefit we see crossing that road. You know, and then the last side of what we're trying to do, we live in this technological boom, right? So using things like these biometric data captures and AI, we think that we can help people have a better understanding of their actual health. You know, I was at a meeting this week here in Cleveland. We have a group called Control Alt Cle that's trying to close the gap between, you know, technology and the people in like the inner city, sort of say. That's the easiest way to look at it. And, you know, talking with Leon over there, you know, one thing we talked about is the large problem with diabetes in the inner cities and in the minority groups, right? So imagine a situation where that data that they're capturing on their test equipment is put into their app on their profile, and then you got AI in the background telling them things like, hey, you need to eat this or that in order to keep your blood sugar levels where they need to be at. You know, there's just so many things that I think are possible with the direction we're headed. And it mainly surrounds around those key elements, you know, closing the gap on getting people into the facilities in front of the people that are doing the training, you know, that is probably the most important, you know, and then on the backside, giving them the rewards and, you know, the motivation through the rewards to go and do it. I mean, think about gamification in the network, you know, and even if the perfect world through proof of stake, right? So you're holding the tokens and you're doing the work, you're earning more tokens, you're essentially getting paid to take care of yourself. And that's a beautiful thing in my opinion. So that's kind of where we're at. We do have a basic alpha version. We call it 1.2 out right now. We're working on 1.3. You'll probably see that out in the next couple of weeks. From that point, we're going to work on 1.4, which will wrap up our MVP. And at that point, you know, we're going to do it. Although we have facilities, providers, and merchants in our app, for our alpha version, we're focusing on the providers and the users. We did a workout last week, kind of as a test run, where we got a small group together. You know, and our vision is to create these small groups, use our loyalty program and airdrop program to give them tokens, right? We are also using those programs to give the providers that sign up early on tokens. And then we're able to use our MVP to host these small groups and show how the product actually works. So we had a nice little group last week, did a little workout, just to show that we can gather it, and that we do have some providers already together, even though we haven't went public with them. All of that stuff will be released when we let 1.4 out, and we plan to do that by the end of the year.
Good. I think it's a great idea, but I'm going to ask you some basic questions that I always ask my entrepreneurs. Tell me about the PMR that you have done, the market research. Like, why do you think it's a great idea, and why do you think a market needs this? Where do you think the product market fit is?
So the easiest way to cross that bridge is to look at MindBody or ClassPass. You know, they're actually partners. They've went out and they've proven that the small boutique shops and the personal classes, you know, like yoga, fitness, spinning, things of this nature are really taking off, right? I can't remember the number. I think it was like something like 27.4 billion market cap in this space, right? And
so, but what research that you have done before launching this product? That's the ClassPass.
Right. So the research that I've done has been a lot of hands-on, right? Like I said, being involved in doing personal training, being a Taekwondo instructor. You know, I've been right in the middle of this stuff with looking for ways to close these gaps, right? To find new customers to come in. So that's where these ideas started. Like I said, I've done gym memberships for the last 20 years of my life. No, 18, I'm sorry. So
this is from personal experience.
I've wasted a lot of money. So there was a lot of personal experience. And then it's, you know, we started diving in, and that's when you run into the ClassPasses and the MindBodies, and you start to see where the trend is. They call this the internet middleman, so to say, where there's a service or an app in the middle that is allowing people to find places and go to new things. You know, that's one of the largest problems. People want to work out, but they don't know where to go. You know, and so when I get out there and I talk to people and I ask them, you know, like, are you working out? Where are you going? Things like this, you know, as I was starting to create this idea, this health and wellness idea isn't new to me. It's something that I've been trying to figure a way into probably for about the last 5 years. I never had figured out how to cross that bridge, you know, and as I've gotten further and further into the blockchain technology, into cryptocurrencies, I seen the ability to close those gaps, right? I mean, where else can you take a hash and store it in a private, secure environment with your information? You know, Fitbit right now just put an article out where they had like they analyzed 1 billion different users' data that they've captured and what all this data means, right? So the user has no ability to control that data, which is another thing that pointed me down this direction, right? So my main focus was, how do I find more customers for myself, right? How do I give those customers then something that makes them want to use the service, right? And that's where you start going, you're doing all this research, and you're seeing that the biometric data capture is becoming something that's important to people, but nobody knows what to do with it. You know, I talked to a guy, Ted Vicky, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's way up there in the fitness world. He oversees ACE certification. I don't know if you're familiar with ACE, but they're like top 3 when it comes to personal training. They have 75,000 different providers that are out there providing services. And when I spoke to Ted, what Ted told me was, whoever can figure out how to take that data and do something with it is going to change the market. We pitch a lot about closing the gap on the contract and allowing people to pay as they go, because we see that as the way to get people involved. The real sale here is the data and what we plan to do with the data, right? Because if you can take the data, give the people the control, right? And store it, like I said, in a hash. So you're not actually storing the data on there. You're just storing the fact that you've created this hash of the data, and then you put that on there. That can be verified, right? And then it's secure. Nobody can look at that but who that user is and who that user decides they then want to send it to, right? And that whoever they send it to, the doctor, think about the youth kid sports coach over the summer. Hey, coach, this is what I was doing. You can see it right here, and you can validate it because we downloaded it to the blockchain and validated that hash, right? So these are all the different things, that kind of led to what formulated the overall scope of this project. It's just been a chipping away process for the last 5 or 6 years of my life. And then when I found my 2 co-founders, they really started to take a following to things I was posting about blockchain and cryptocurrency last year, as I was getting more involved in the investing side of it and not just, looking at the space. And they started, investing based on where I was putting my money at and things of that nature. And we just started having sit downs and we were talking about it. And one thing led to the next, and here came this idea. And, over the course since February, when we started working on this thing, it's just kind of exploded into what it is today.
So let's talk a little bit about the competitive analysis. It's like there are ClassPass, MindBody, and there's Sweatcoin is also there. Similar business model. I'm trying to understand what makes you different from those business models. That's my first question. And my second question is that why do you think that the incumbents like them will not come and just implement what you have? And what's so proprietary about this product?
Those are great questions. The first one you asked had to do with, I'm trying to think. Can you repeat the first question?
Yeah, sure.
Because I got my head wrapped up on the last one as I started talking.
You can say answer the last question.
So the reason I don't think that they're going to enter the space soon is because they're focused on their energy on other things, right? MindBody started off as a back end product just to kind of focus on doing payment analysis and working for the business. I think they've seen potential in growing. That's why they partnered with ClassPass. And right now, from what I see is they're working on trying to close the gap on people going outside of the app. Like I know a lot of people that use MindBody app, but they don't use the MindBody app to pay. They show up at the facility that they found on the app and they pay cash, right? We can close that gap by taking cash out of the equation, right? The other side of it is through smart contracts and things of that nature, we can allow for people to do things like, if a personal trainer wants to hold a class, they create a schedule, right? 9 times out of 10, that schedule will fill up. If you ask most personal trainers or Pilates instructors, whoever it might be, if they got a 20-person class, they usually take 25 because you're guaranteed at least 25% aren't going to show up. And usually that number is larger, right? So you set this class, you've created the amount that you want to charge based on having a full class, and then it doesn't show up, right? So with the smart contract, we can do things like allow the user to show the provider, this class is here, right? We can use GPS tracking to show whether the user showed up to that class. You see what I mean?
Yes.
And then release the actual token to the provider. That way, neither party's lost for service, right? So if the user shows up and the provider doesn't, the user can get their token back. But if the user doesn't show up, the provider still gets paid. And that's not the direction of what they're trying to do. It's small things like that we're doing for people that I don't see them trying to do, right? I think that with the craze in the blockchain and all these changes that they've been making in the last few years, they would start to go down that direction. That's MindBody. So you talk about ClassPass, which I would consider more of a competitor because they're more focused on, maybe I've seen things where they tried to work with Fitbit. I don't know if they've sealed that actual partnership, things of that nature. So they're kind of trying to go in that direction a little bit. But their main focus is bringing people into these classes. But they've never done anything to change their technology. All they keep doing is they change their business model because they keep figuring out what they're trying to do doesn't make money. And the only reason that they continue to be in business is because they've been able to make strategic partnerships with people like MindBody, and they have really good, successful capital raises. They just raised 85 million. Um,
So
they're not
why?
staying
So
they're
why?
not staying in business because they're making money. They're staying in business because they keep being able to raise money. So what we're doing is we're differentiating what we do, right? ClassPass, even though they give you the ability to pick and choose where you want to go, you still have to pay for a membership. It's like $40 to let you go to 5 different classes, and they limit which classes you can go to. So if you went to Sally's yoga class, the second day of the month, you can't go back to Sally's yoga class until your ClassPass resets into the next month.
Right.
So we're not limiting people that way. We're giving people the ability to do what they want, when they want, how they want, and they're only going to pay when they want to do it.
No, that's great. I really like the idea because there was one time in my life I used to travel a lot. I almost used to live in a plane, and I used to hate the fact that I could not work out. And mostly the only option I had to work out was in the hotels, and they were like very minimum. So I started doing a lot of yoga and Pilates in my hotel room. I really like this idea. I think this is incredible. One of the things that you have mentioned, especially that why you are integrating blockchain into this. One of the reason is smart contract. I know that I understand smart contract and blockchain pretty well. Had been in this industry for for quite a long time as a retail investor and from the institutional side. I would like that if other people are watching this, them to know that why blockchain, why this cannot be achieved with a simple database or a simple data ledger. Why do you think, beside the smart contract, why do you think blockchain is so essential to engage the one to engage the consumer adoption and to have the vendors also interested, and basically you're just taking care of the vendor at the same time you're taking care of the consumers also.
Right. So I see the benefit because it's public, right? It's decentralized. If we were to just have a normal ledger, that can be manipulated, right? At any point in time, one of our main focus is the loyalty program, right? So at any point in time, any individual involved can go and see what type of stuff they've earned from a loyalty perspective, right? In a centralized environment, that's I don't think capable, right? Because those numbers can be manipulated into the favor of whoever's running it. I see that as one of the biggest impacts of using blockchain. I think that blockchain is going to be the future, which is another reason that I like blockchain. And I think one of the things that people watching can benefit from is is learning the impact of what this process does, right? So when you get into things like proof of stake and all these other various different elements besides the smart contract, you're able to allow it to become more of a community project versus, like everyone makes progress, runs this digital ledger, which isn't the end game. Obviously that's our company. That's what we've done to start this process. But, our long-term vision is to make this thing entirely decentralized so that the people involved are all able to um, utilize this thing in an environment that is open to everyone, right? The main thing in the world right now is globalization and all inclusive, right? So that's one of the biggest things that I see blockchain being a benefit from because anybody can do it from anywhere. I mean, think about all our old smartphones, our iPhone 3s and 4s. People think they're laying in land mills when they're over in these third world countries. And that's how these people are going to become connected to be able to do e-commerce through things like blockchain, and it's no government can control it. It's not going away. And then the best part about it is all this stored data, nobody has to pay to keep it anywhere because it just floats around in outer space, sort of say.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think blockchain has that opportunity to set everybody in even status. And I think if you've read one of my blogs with Ray Dillon, he is specifically emphasizing on that fact. And I think that's the reason we love things about blockchain. And it needs much more, a lot of product development needs to go in this space to focus on scalability, interoperability issues. And I think we will get there. It's just going to take some time. One of the user over here in Facebook is saying that paid to get pumped. So it's pretty interesting. And then some of the users are asking about, so there are, I have lived in Ohio and you have lived in Ohio. You know how LA Fitness is pretty big over there. And then there are small boutique gym that are out there. So why I'm mentioning about this thing is that data is very important. I love my data and I hate when Facebook is marketing my data. I would love to know, and I come from I started my career as a DBA. So I like to know that what you're going to do with this data and how much people can own this data.
So we want the data to, like I said, we wanted them to be able to store it in a private hash environment, to where we can't even really see that data, which gives them complete ownership. And then they're able to download that hash, call it security number, whatever you want to give to the title of how you'll see that hash represented on the blockchain, right? So we want to give them complete control of what they want to do with the data. Then they can take that data, download it to the blockchain, and nobody's able to see it but themselves and who they share it with. That's the end goal. I think that we spend a lot of time taking advantage of each other based on our own data. And at some point, somebody's going to do something to give people the ability to control their own data, right? And that's what we see as our biggest benefit. The biggest thing that our platform will provide for people is the ability to own your own data.
Right.
Right.
I think
it's strategic in the health world, right? Because if I know that when I run a mile, I eat salad, I get a better mile time because I'm able to store, the biometric data. I'm able to store all these other different things through the APIs and stuff like that. And I can actually do some additional manual input, right? At that point, the responsibility becomes on me to be accurate, to use quality technology, to capture the data so that, we're not, using uncalibrated things to get skewed numbers and then in the return get bad feedback from the AI. That responsibility is the users, but we want to give the user that responsibility because I don't feel like anyone's doing that right now.
Yeah, I completely.
I think I think even when I see other things out here, there's something that you probably haven't looked at. There's Limpo, LYMPO.
I know them. Yeah.
They're kind of on a similar path to what we're doing. So when we're having that conversation of competitors, they're probably more of a competitor than ClassPass.
Yeah.
But they're not talking about doing the type of stuff that we're doing. I see a whole bunch of similarities, but I see a whole bunch of differences.
Yeah. One of the things that I would like to mention that a lot of people are comparing this with LA Fitness database. The data that LA Fitness has is the data that what time I come into the gym and how much exercise I do. They do not have the data that I can go to different places and exercise, and whether I am running outside my home and I'm running in a park and the kind of diet I'm taking. And there are various other biometrics that are involved in this kind of data. And the best thing is that I own that data and I know what I want to do with that data. I think that's why you have used this platform on blockchain, right?
Yes, that too. That, and then think about this as well, right? Look at the big push we have at IoT, right? Imagine when your workout equipment can Bluetooth your app, your data from that, when you're jogging and you put your hands on that heart rate machine and all that other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Imagine when that data can be captured, Bluetooth into your app, because you're able to scan a QR code or whatever it might be on the side of the equipment right into your app saying, hey, this is me in my app getting onto this machine. And now here I'm going to capture this data. It doesn't matter if I'm in LA Fitness, if I'm in Sally's Cycle Shop, or if I'm over here at Planet Fitness paying $10 a month. It doesn't matter because I'm able to use the app for that, which is why I've tried, I shouldn't say why we as a team have collectively decided to put a lot more of our effort into explaining our biometrics and AI stuff. We didn't do a very good job, I think, when we started off of explaining that stuff for two reasons. One, we were trying to kind of be secretive You said you know about Limpo, so I don't know if you've ever heard of Gym Coin,
I have heard of
um,
Bitcoin.
the scam coin. Uh, not to call anyone out, but they obviously had to refund money, and then people couldn't even get their money back. But seeing other things like this out there, we didn't want to blow our cover, sort of say. So then it's like trying to explain to people some of these cool features we're going to offer without really telling them about it. And where we sit now, and we feel like we're a little bit further in the game. We have not a great following. We're still early on. We're not social media marketers by any means, that's how things like this become aware.
So why
You know,
why not you're using social media?
so we haven't become experts at attracting followers yet.
So what's
That's
is it the talent or the resource or time, or you think you guys are still not quite there yet?
I think it's the talent. That's why, we want to bring Jason Stone on. He's had a lot of success with social media marketing, particularly with Instagram. So that's one of the things. When you look at a lot of these projects that are creating the hype and making the movement, they're using these social media marketing firms, right? And they're paying someone 4, 5, 10 grand a month
Yeah,
to actually get out here
I
and do the work for them.
that's the worst thing one can do. The best way to grow a company is organically. If you're
Right.
paying someone, that person will have interest because you're paying them. But what happens after the time being? I always mention to people it's very important to make sure your product and platform is sticky. I think when it comes to blockchain, people are very focused. Okay, how can I bring network effect? It's great. I mean, but your network effect is going to survive for a longer term if your product is sticky and platform is sticky. You have a very
Right.
strong value proposition. So I'm completely against the idea people are paying a lot for marketing companies and getting some great marketing advices. But I think organic growth is great. You have Facebook, you have Instagram. Use that as most as you can. People can hear this pitch and get an idea. Okay, I want to be a part of this, and okay, maybe I'll download the coin. One of the things I would like to ask you, talk about a little bit about the strategic partnership that you have done with whether it's a gym or any other wellness programs or any other companies.
Yeah, so we haven't put in a lot of effort into going after gyms. Like I said, once we started talking with, app development firms and things like that, and we actually started planning out our beta version of our app because we've already put those plans into place. We really got a clear picture that the easiest way to infiltrate the industry is to interface the user with the provider. So a lot of our conversations have been around working with personal trainers and yoga instructors and Pilates instructors. I have open conversations with people in all of those different areas. We have a couple of partnerships with some people that manufacture, health and beauty products. And then there's a partnership with an online personal training / gym
Okay.
that we're working with. They just haven't released their platform yet, so we haven't done anything with announcing them. Our biggest pushes have been trying to grow this thing organically, working on the actual technology that we have now, and then continuing to do the research on the other elements of the project that we're trying to bring to life. So we haven't put.
Why not big incumbents, like if you're doing a strategic partnership? Because if suppose I'm I live in Boston, and I'm traveling to New York, or I'm traveling to Columbus, Ohio, and I need to work out. Will I be getting access to some of those boutique gyms that are in Ohio or in New York?
So that's our goal. Is at this point we know that we need to create a marketing team, sales team to go after creating these partnerships. Obviously that takes money. So one of the first things we do when we raise the capital is to start that process, and that's exactly where we're going to start. Like I said, we're going after the providers now. Our first infiltration into facilities is going to be the small boutique shops. Those are the people that are looking for more business. There's the challenge of the larger shops of, well, we don't need you because we have our members. So we feel that building through the providers and through the smaller boutique shops that we're able to go into those bigger stores like the LA Fitnesses and the Planet Fitnesses and say, hey, look, this is what we have. We've created this user base. We're already going into these smaller shops. You sure you don't want these people coming into your gym? You know, and that's kind of the plan there.
Yeah.
We just haven't implemented that plan because we haven't had the time, money, and energy to actually do that, right? We're drawing thin on having people running around doing, you know, making the partnership meetings because we've put out most of our energy into like the tech development and creating content for this organic social media growth, you know, and all of that type of stuff.
But
you know,
another thing I would like to mention is that when you're talking to the bigger gyms, you need to understand what pain point they have and which they are unable to solve it through their bigger network. Obviously, user base is not a problem for them. They have great user base, but they might have problem that these users are signed in regularly. So you can take that note and try to see that what kind of market research you can do before you talk to some of these incumbents. That if these are their pain points, how can I solve these pain points through my app? Like, okay, much more user engagement. Currently, they don't have that. Like if I go to LA Fitness, maybe I'll just give, I think, $80 or $90. It's a monthly fee. And after that, I'm like, oh, today I'm feeling lazy, or there's not much of a motivation. And they kind of push you to have like a gym buddy and other stuff. But how your app can add that value, whether you're traveling or still you're staying in Ohio and not moving anywhere, but still I can be more engaged with LA Fitness because I am a part of this app. So that can be one of the things. There can be other reasons or other pain points that big incumbents, whether it's a ClassPass or LA Fitness, they have, and try to research that how can you solve that through your app, because which cannot be solved by them. And that's where it makes that your app is much more valuable, or your app is something they feel it's tempting that I want to strategically do some kind of a partnership with you guys, even if you're small, because you add value, which as an incumbent, I'm unable to add value. So maybe you guys can do a little bit of research on them.
So that's part of why we're so motivated to get to the point of being able to offer the biometric data capture and the AI on the back end, because it crosses that gap for us, right? And then think about, like I said, with the IoT stuff, right? So if we get to a point where the gym has the equipment and we can help the gym capture that data for their users, giving the user the ability to own that data, and then the AI on the back end allowing that user to actually gain valuable information and insight, which is really hard to do. You know, all of us want to take the keto diet, but where do you start, right?
Right.
Or you want to do this, you want to do that, but you have nobody giving you that push. I mean, even education itself.
How much proprietary it is, the biometric data or the app that you have created? Can anybody come and say that I'm going to create that app? I have money. I don't have to worry about it.
So I would say at this point, we don't have any patents or anything like that. We've talked about, you know, going that route. Obviously, that's time, money, and energy. So, you know, the conversation for where we sit now always draws back to capital.
Yeah.
We have people that can put the energy in. If we had capital to either pay them or capital to you know, pay ourselves so that we don't, you know, some of the people on the team, the majority of people working on this still have a day job. So, you know, if we can free some of their time, then we can devote some energy into some of these other things, which is where we sit, you know. And then I definitely think that the value becomes in the proprietary tech, right?
Yeah.
Which would be the biometrics, which would be the way we store that hash to give the people the ability to put it on the blockchain. And that's what's going to separate us from the other people, I think.
So when you're talking, I think you have transitioned to the capital deployment side. Before I talk about that, let me ask you, is like, how many users you have right now?
We have a very small number of users, just because we haven't actually tried to sign people up. I think the last time I looked, it was like 30 or 40.
Okay. That's like really.
Like I said, we just started to try to get people to sign up for this thing, which has been all organic. What our main goal right now for the users has been is to try to establish individuals that we can go to to those workouts that we're going to put on, like I explained earlier in the pitch. So basically, what we're trying to do right now is develop sort of an alpha test group, so that we can provide users some tokens, some providers some tokens, and then allow these people to interact within the app to show the use case. And throughout that process, the goal is to grow the users and to grow the providers, and not just in Cleveland, all over the world. So we're in the process of making all of that stuff become reality. It's just, it boils down to how many users can you sign up if you can't run an ad, right? And things of that nature. So all of our users that we've signed up have been, manually me either walking around and having people sign up. One of the downsides to it, I would say, from our perspective, where we probably fail a little bit, is much like how Pitch only has an iOS app. Our basic data collection apps only in the Play Store. With the majority of users using iOS, it's really hard to get them to go sign up for this thing by clicking, the Meteor app link that takes them to the actual website where they can do that. So it's just a lot of that stuff that we've been trying to figure out how to close those gaps. We have a conversation on Tuesday, bringing in another advisor that's going to help us on some marketing and branding stuff, so that we can, use that stuff that he's going to provide us in correlation with the techniques and strategies that Jason Stone's going to work with us on, so that we can really start to create this organic growth, both in the users, the providers, and also just, the overall following our Telegram group, following our Facebook group, things of that nature.
Yeah, I think one of the things that the investors will be looking at how many users you have, and it's okay to have 1,000 users, but it's not okay to have 30 to 40. So you have to grow that. But the most important fact is that even if you have 500 to 1,000 users, how many of them are using the app? The conversion rate is very important. And I think you need to focus on that. Even if 30 to 40 use the app, make sure that they not just downloaded the app, how many of them are basically using the app to access different gym or to access the program
Right.
created. I think it's very important. Even getting that data is very important, especially to the investors, to show that how much engagement you have in that app. 30-40 is okay, but I think right now you guys have to scale it further. Go to different trade shows, go to different conferences, try to talk to people, or just create your own event, where you can talk about, you have been an instructor, so you can ask people like, hey, come and take free taekwondo or whatever classes, and then at the end of the class or the beginning of the class, you talk about this app and why this app is essential. So like that way you are giving a free opportunity for people to come and sign in, and then you're also giving them the platform where they can be more and more engaged. So there are different ways that you can add users. It's not just going to people's house. Like if somebody comes to my house to sign an app, I generally don't open my door. And I think I'll not suggest that's a good idea, but I'll definitely suggest that create certain events, certain programs around your app. And that event should be something people think that, okay, I'm interested to go to that event and hear about what they're doing. Or maybe create an event where some of the people just want to talk about blockchain and sports or blockchain and health and wellness, and they will be interested to come and be a part of that. Also try to understand who are your main users. Your main users are people who are fitness freak. One, people who travel a lot. So you need to capture those kind of people who travel, who are fitness freak. So try to find an events where you can find this many users, because those who are fitness freak, they will find a way, to want to work out, to get them more and more motivated in the workout. And then you also have another group who think they are fitness freak. They want to sign up, but they don't want to do anything. So if you can find even a small group of people of 10 like that, and see how the transition progress has begun, that they had just signed up in a gym and never did anything in their life, and then after using your app, how the progress has taken place from not doing anything to being active regularly, whether going to a gym or working out by themselves or running in the park, whatever it is. I think that transition is very, very important because you're adding value through your app, which other gym or other fitness or wellness programs are unable to do so. So I think these are the value propositions that you can show to your investors. Even if they're small, they're tangible. And that's what matters, you know?
Right, and I think maybe I didn't do a good enough job explaining it. Um, so we haven't released our tokens yet, right? So we can't even allow people to use the app to conduct the transaction because the tokens aren't released. The other side of it is the app, the way that it sits right now at the version 1.2, doesn't really allow them to do anything other than enter their information and then look down lists that we haven't fully filled out yet of who the providers are and things of that nature. Which is that has It's not like I've been knocking on people's doors to get those 30 to 40 users.
Mm-hmm.
That's been more of an organic social media approach. We did like a pre-airdrop where if you signed up for the app, we were going to log your information, and then when we actually release the tokens, you'll get some tokens. We got some people to sign up that way. Some of the people were from that workout little video session that we put on last week as a test run, because much like Pitch Live's doing with this Facebook Live event, what we're working towards is creating a bi-weekly event, whether it be outside at the park like we did last weekend, or, obviously when it starts snowing here, we're not going to be able to do that. We see the benefits of walking into a facility like a yoga studio and say, hey, look, we need your classroom for an hour on Sunday. We're going to launch this thing on Facebook Live. You can use one of your instructors, and we're going to sign you up in the app. And when the people show up to take the class, you're going to get the tokens. So these are all the things that we're working on. It makes me really proud to sit here and listen to you tell me that the things that I'm trying to bring to life are the things that I should be doing. So I know that I'm on the right track.
Yeah. You're doing a great job. Some of the thing I also wanted to ask that have you tried to access any of the accelerators like Mass Challenge, Y Combinator, or Startup Bootcamp, or Alchemist?
So we have not.
You should definitely do that because they nurture ideas and can help you facilitate some of what you're trying to do because they have that huge resources. So sometimes when you have an idea, they can help you out.
Are you familiar with Startup Health?
A little bit.
So we've dealt with them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a company here in Cleveland called Jumpstart. We've worked with them a little bit. I don't know if you're familiar, but Cleveland, there's an initiative in Cleveland called Blockland Cleveland.
Okay.
And basically what's happening, there's a guy named Bernie Moreno here in Cleveland. He's like the luxury car dealer of Cleveland. His son got him into blockchain Bitcoin back in, I think he said 2015, really got him excited. So he's trying to work with all these big officials. I don't know if you're familiar with like Case Western Reserve, but that's a large school here in Cleveland. Cleveland State University, the deans of those facilities are working on this. Ray Leach, the CEO of Jumpstart's working on this.
Are you doing anything with them?
Yeah, so they have 10 nodes right now working on trying to create Cleveland into an epic center.
Okay.
Revolved around blockchain technology. I'm working on 2 of the 10 nodes. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, there's an entrepreneurial node on how this initiative can help entrepreneurs, one, come to Cleveland, and ones that are here, benefit from being here, and what type of help do they need, right? So I got involved with them because I see 2 benefits there. One, it puts me in touch with the people trying to help people like me. And 2, it gives them someone in the neighborhood doing it to provide feedback so that they can best facilitate on how to address helping others in the future. And then on the backside, the other node that I'm on is the business application node, which is designed around, how the businesses are going to be able to apply their services and such in the city. Chris, our CFO, is on the thought leadership node. The thought leadership node is working on putting on a conference here in Cleveland. It's from December 1st through the 4th. They asked me to actually speak at that conference.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to talk about blockchain and how AI and biometric data can, help change health and wellness and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then we got our third partner, Brian. He's an attorney. So he's working on right now getting involved on the legal node, so that we can kind of try to have one insight and two a hand on all this legislation that's going on right now in Ohio. They're trying to actually create a separate docket just for blockchain, so that every time you got to go to court about a blockchain event, you don't have to reprove your case. So those are all the different places where we're working with that particular project on trying to help bring stuff like that around Cleveland.
Okay.
And once that thing really started to pick up, I would say probably in like May, a lot more things like the jump starts and things like that, they really became interested in what we're doing and trying to give us a little bit of guidance and sending us over here. And like Jumpstart's got a program where if our Start Engine campaign raises 25K, they'll match that 25K. And so there's just all these different little things that we're working on, trying to bring some money together so that we can finish the research we need to do and finish the technology development and releasing the token and things like that, so that we can provide the value proposition. We can determine an exact number on what it's going to cost to acquire a user and what it's going to cost to retain that user once acquired. All these things are not off the radar. They're just some open-ended questions that we need to answer before we can actually give a validated answer to what that is.
Yeah, I completely agree. I ran two of my companies, and I know when you're starting a product, it's always a chicken egg problem. You need users, but to have users, you need technology, and for technology, you need capital deployment. So one of the things that I would like to say that thanks for taking your time. You guys are too early for us. We are mostly in the Series A, but what I can do to you is that I can introduce you some of the accelerator programs that are very sports focused or healthcare or health and wellness focused. And these accelerators gives you opportunity not just to come there, but also get capital around $250,000 to $500,000. They're pretty big. And I think you have access to some of the top level resources compared to 25K and others. And what I can do is that I will share with you my email address. You can send me a couple of details, and what I'll do is that I'll try to connect you with them so that whether you can work on your pitch or how you want to move ahead with them, it's totally up to you. But what else I can help you with?
So from a standpoint of where we're at now, we're really trying to bulk up on advisors. We think that that's something that plays us a benefit, right? So we're kind of in the search of trying to find people to kind of fill roles that understand the blockchain space, that understand security, things of that nature. So more of like a technology base. And then also like some marketing stuff. Like I said, we're not expert marketers by any means. And I think finding some people to help close some of the technical gaps from like explaining it to the public standpoint, so that we can tell our story better, define what we're actually doing better than, the way that we've written it, from a more technical standpoint. And someone to come in and be able to give us, some time and energy and some strategy on how to organically market this thing, so that we can build this user base, so that we can, get these partnerships and things of that nature.
Yeah, I can help you connect with a few people like that who can, who are pretty much expert in this space and had been doing this for quite some time. I also sit on a board of a company which is called Helix 3. They are using blockchain, especially in the healthcare data. And I think it would be great if you guys can talk about something what you guys are doing, since you're in the healthcare and wellness business, and they're on the blockchain and trying to see how they can integrate, especially the healthcare data. It can be a good partnership. They're in a different level. You guys are in a different level, but it can be, I think, pretty good. I'll connect you with them. They're a Boston-based company, and they're working on this for more than 1.5 years, and pretty much focused, very high-tech company. So yeah, what we can do is that let's connect through email, and I'll make you some introductions.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time. And I think it was great talking to you. And people who are hearing this, I hope they understood. If there may be many users who are out there who who are basically thinking, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't know how to do it, or I don't know how to pitch to an investors. So I think it gives us an opportunity to know that how to learn from you and how to pitch to an investor, but also some of the comments that I have read on Facebook is they are basically um, very much interested in your app. They're thinking of how to download. People are asking questions, how can we get the app? And some people are asking questions that this is amazing. You guys are doing great. So I think it's great for what you guys are doing. So it's definitely validates that you guys are on the right path. And people who are interested, I'll ask them to download the app so that you don't miss the chance to pitch. And I think I'll look forward to a couple of more pitches like that. And in the meantime, let's connect and let me see how I can help you out. Okay?
Sure. If you want to just guide them to emp.fitness, they'll find a QR code or the link they can click to sign up for the app. I would appreciate anyone that wanted to sign up. I want to thank you for your time listening to me and this advice you gave me, and I look forward to the connections you're able to put me in touch with.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time, and till then, bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good weekend.
Thanks.